there was news in reference to Netflix leaving, but in reference to commissioning and also funding a lot of Nigerian movies. The moment that news was out there, people attributed it to the fact that there was gross mismanagement of funds amongst movie producers and filmmakers.
That's what
I'm asking.
You want me to indict? You want
that?
me to indict my colleagues?
Indict?
That's what you're saying, because you're saying that they said there was
no.
You said mismanagement.
Yes, that's what it was.
So
attributed
if I endorse that, I'm indicting somebody.
How so?
That's
sir?
not that. Don't worry. I'm not afraid.
Sir, I know that you are not. I know that you are not.
So, but I'm just
saying.
But
do you think that is happening?
I do not know so. I don't know so. I will not speak to what I do not know. First of all, has anybody? Nobody has admitted to me that this is my budget. Nobody has. So why are we speculating that we know what the budget is? We don't know, because they sign non-disclosure agreements. So why are we speculating about what we have no knowledge of?
What's good, guys? You're on to the Link Up. Yes, sir. Another fantastic episode about to unfold. Quincy Jones here. Of course, every time you see me on this seat, my throne, as you will, I'm about to have a very, very fantastic conversation. And today, it's a bit different from the usual, because we're talking absolute legendary status today on the show. And not just legendary in the movie industry, we're talking even as a journalist, as a broadcaster as well. And that is special and specific to me, because I'm also a radio personality, you see. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome legendary Patrick Harry Doyle. And before we started, he taught me the PhD, and I was wondering what it was. I was slow to it, but I caught on Patrick Harry Doyle, PhD. How are you, sir?
Very well.
It's very good to have you in here.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Where to begin? I think I'm just going to go straight to it. First, you have witnessed different levels and forms of growth in entertainment till date, right? As far back as, I want to say, the 70s, 80s, right?
I started on the 24th of March, 1980, with The Voice of Nigeria.
Yes, sir. And then I think you also worked with NTA at some point?
At some point, a few years after, then I migrated to NTA as a continuity announcer and presenter.
So what's the difference between an on-air personality and a continuity announcer?
They're essentially the same thing. On-air personality is just a coinage by a gentleman. People think that it's a big international coinage. It was coined by a Nigerian in Nigeria who you know very well, Jacob Akinyemi Johnson.
JAJ, the Mechadon.
When they wanted to set up the Rhythm 93.7, he was, he's a pioneer member of the Rhythm family.
Yes.
And they were thinking of ways to differentiate themselves. Back in the day, all of us were called continuity announcer or news reader. Then when Radio Nigeria 2, RN2, on Martin Street, when they started, they now called their, what we call on-air personalities, they call them disc motivators.
Interesting.
So JAJ worked in RN2, and then the Radio Nigeria made a coinage called disc motivator. You understand? So because FM broadcasting was a new thing and it was supposed to be hip, so they found a hip way of describing continuity announcer, program presenter / newsreader.
Interesting.
So when they were setting up Rhythm, Jacob also in that tradition of finding something, funky to call it. So, and funny enough, on-air personality has caught on practically universally. But yes, it was coined right here in Nigeria by JAJ.
Amazing. And of course, shout out to JAJ. He was my former boss. Top 7 at 7. Yeah. All right. So thank you, sir, for that knowledge. But I want to know, did you start as a journalist first, or were you an actor first?
Continuity announcer.
Sorry, as
Voice of Nigeria, 1980.
Okay, were you
March 1980. Would make it 45 years now.
wow, it's a lot. But were you an actor then?
Continuity announcer first.
Okay.
The migration to acting was when I moved on to NTA as a continuity announcer and program presenter.
So you really don't want to use this on your personality?
I'm old school like that.
Okay.
I'm old school like that. Okay. So while working at NTA, usually in those days, the television, it wasn't 24 hours. The television station opens maybe around 4 p.m. every evening. So if you're going to be the duty continuity announcer, DCA, you have to get there about maybe 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock to prepare for your shift.
Yes.
So so when you get there, usually when I get there early, there's really nothing to do. But the custom is get there 2-3 hours before the shift begins. So I'm there early, and I used to hang out in a room for producers, drama producers, because one of the drama producers was a cousin of mine. His name was Roland Henshaw. So he used to produce a weekly drama thing called Play of the Week. So he used to hang out in his office whilst they'd be rehearsing with the actors and everything. So on one of those, I said, cousin, give me scripts, now let me also act. So that's exactly where that started from acting in a few plays of the week produced by my cousin, Roland Henshaw. So that's where, but it was, as I said, it was just something that I just did to while away time in between.
While you prepared for
exactly
continuity announcement, of course. Now, but how easy was it for you to break into mainstream acting at the time? Because I know that, as far as, knowledge serves, within that period, there were quite a number of stage plays, and then there were films as well.
No, there were no films at that time. This is pre your video.
Interesting.
This was before your video time. The video thing came on much later. We're talking about 1981, 82. No, we didn't have a video movie industry. For a long time, we didn't have a movie industry, with the exception of the Yoruba theatre groups that used to do films every once in a while. Hubert Ogunde will do Aye, Baba Salah will do his Orunmoru, and Duro Ladipo, and that's what we had in those days. So it was not a thriving movie industry like we see it today. So it started with the VHS, the home video craze, which was a few years down the line. So it was, I didn't have to break into anything.
There was not even in existence.
Yeah, but we had the TV, we had on TV. But TV, there was plenty of drama and acting on TV, because at some stage we had these big sponsored programs like Mirror in the Sun, which was sponsored by a big multinational and showing on network television. And so there was Adio Family. There was even there was one where one of the earlier ones by Zebe Jiro, what was it called now? I was in it too. I was the pioneer lead actor, and I forget its name now, but it was the leading soap opera at the time. Then there was I'm talking about getting to the mid-80s. Amaka Igwe came up with her own soap opera that had RMD and what's her name now? Boyu.
Okay.
That had Boyu. Okay, so that's it. So it wasn't anything to break into. That was the progression. We'll move from Play of the Week on NTA, then we move to nice, good drama sponsored by big multinationals, PZ, and what have you.
At what point did it become an independent market to a situation where people could put in their funds together, get a crew, get teams, production? And
incidentally, let me now give you history. The first, as I said, there was one time, what's her name? Fani Kayode.
Yes.
Okay. She did Mirror in the Sun. Mirror in the Sun was a big deal but it had a big sponsor behind it, and they put it up on national television. Up till that point, I mean, that started the big sponsorship drive, where even Ripples, that's the name of the show that I was on, Zebe Jiro's Ripples 2 was sponsored by a big multinational and put on network television. So that became the vogue, where you'd have these nice programs sponsored by big corporations, and they would put it out on national television, on the network, on the NTA network.
Yes.
So we didn't have dramas, we didn't have independent producers producing for local stations or producing independent of even big-time sponsors. So the first ever Nigerian drama soap opera to be independently produced, not with the funds of a sponsor, but you generate your money and put your crew together, was produced by me. It's called Jaded Options. That was the first ever Nigerian program, not sponsored by a multinational, produced by producer Patrick Doyle and my dear departed friend Osanyede Osunde of White Waters. That was the name of his company at the time. And we put it together, Jaded Options, and we bought airtime on 10 television stations around Nigeria. Before then, nobody...
Do you remember how much?
There's no way in the world I remember. But that's not even... What I'm just saying is that we were the first person ever to put together a drama, syndicate it on 10 stations across Nigeria without funding from any multinational. And what we did now, we now sold airtime to different people to buy adverts on it.
Yes.
So that was the beginning of the independent dramas on Nigerian television, and it became quite a buzz because after that came in your Tajuddin Adikpetu with his Everyday People.
Ooh,
after that came your other people like Papa what's his name, Wale Adenuga with his Papa Aja School. So I blazed the trail and they followed, and that's not the only place where I blazed the trail.
Please.
All right, so we had what we called as far as independent programs were going, people were doing magazine shows and all whatnot. A friend of mine, Ime James, was doing a fashion program, magazine show as an independent producer on NTA called Trends and all whatnot. But the first ever business-related show, independently produced, was done by me. It was called Real Estate This Week in 1991. 1991, if I'm not mistaken. But that was a program, a specialized business program, independently produced. It was my show called Real Estate This Week.
All right, that's a major feat. I think I'm just going to ask regardless. That would mean that you were in tune with real estate at the time, right?
That would just mean that I'm a broadcaster, and the real estate industry needed to be reported. And it was a niche area that I identified, and I went into... Yes, on account of that, I became conversant with the real estate industry.
Of course.
But I am trained to extract and to disseminate information. So, yes.
Okay. I was just going to ask, looking at real estate then, there's a current movement, as you will, at the moment. About,
there's a lot of money in real estate broadcasting, if you like. Because you can see a lot of people have carved a niche for themselves, presenting different estates and showing you stuff and telling you what's up for sale and how much.
I'm even going to...
So I'm just saying that I did that back in 1990.
And then that's a very huge deal. I'm just looking at the current clamor against the current pricing in real estate at the moment. And for you, I mean, being one of the earliest to witness it and also have a show about it, what do you see, or what would you say about the current issue or challenge with real estate at the moment?
Is there a challenge with real estate?
Yes, there's a consistent fight about how exorbitant the house pricing are, rent is in Lagos, even in Abuja and quite a number of places.
I really
If you were
think
to speak on that.
no. It's put it this way: if you go to Abuja and many estates on this Lekki corridor, you will see plenty houses completed and uninhabited. So if it is the price that is too much, how come people are still building and they're not being occupied? So that should tell you something. There's a glut in the number. There are more houses than there are people taking them up. But it's funny. And why it's funny is because real estate has become one of probably the leading form of money laundering, because a lot of it is illegal money finding expression in the construction industry and, constructing houses and all kinds of real estate. So it's artificial. So, and those prices are, I don't understand it, but it baffles me. It beats imagination and logic. How come we have so many empty, completed buildings
Till date.
in a place where there's a shortage of housing for people,
I
but
agree.
there are a lot of empty
Houses.
estates. Go to Abuja, it's crazy.
Wow.
But that only just tells you that people have just used money that has been stolen to just store up the value in real estate
And then sell.
and
later.
hoping that one day, I don't know why they're doing it. Did you hear about the man who had 7,000 apartments in one estate in Abuja?
And no, I heard of that. I thought you were making reference to the one storing physical cash in his house.
And all of that. So it's better to use the money to build something than to store it in the house where rats and
Okay. Now to take you back to the real estate show. Why did it ever stop?
everything has a beginning and an end.
How long did it run for?
It ran for about 6 years. I think it stopped in 1997, nearly 7 years, as a matter of fact. So there were other things to do, new territory to conquer.
So did you ever stop broadcasting at some point to focus on film or to focus on movies, TV shows, dramas, stage plays?
I need to make this clarification. Movie making, acting, broadcasting, they are all children of the same father. It's all communication. So, at no time did I ever stop being a broadcaster. At no time did whenever I'm asked what's my profession, I say I'm a broadcaster. Acting is incidental, and making movies is incidental to, to what I do. But in your passport, you have to have one profession.
Yes.
So the profession that's listed on my passport is broadcaster. So, but
You're
acting
known
as,
more as a film, as an actor.
because that's very simple. Because at some point, you have to yield the floor to people like you.
Of course.
If I was still straddling the broadcast industry, there would have been no way that we would have known Quincy. So sometimes you step back and let other people shine.
Yes, sir. And you might not know this, but you were also once my boss. You were, I don't know if you are, but at some point you were a consultant at Silverbird. Or
Yes.
are you still a consultant at Silverbird?
I'm a consultant in the sense that myself and the Bruce family, we grew up together. So I will never not be a part of the Silverbird family. But on a contractual basis, no, I am no longer officially involved. But unofficially, I will always be involved with Silverbird.
Amazing. Now, before COVID, then this is making reference to the shift in time that you have experienced, right? Way before COVID, for broadcasters, especially continuity announcers or OAPs, as you will, on the radio, there was what I would like to call the God factor, basically. People rush to pay attention to what the broadcaster said. What the broadcaster says is gold. You take it and say, I heard it on the radio first. Then I used to listen to JJ's Top 7 at 7 and say, look, this song, I heard it yesterday, it has been released and all of that stuff. And radio is law, or was law at some point. But there's been a shift and people are blaming COVID era. Is it possible that radio is looking at its end? Possibly.
Yeah, as I said, everything has a lifespan. Radio is dying and will ultimately die because people are now relying on a different device. I don't need a radio anymore. I don't need a radio set anymore. I need that. Bring that device. People are getting all their information from the telephone. So radio as a terrestrial mode of disseminating information is dead. It's now digital. So it will eventually die.
How about television?
Television, as we know it, the terrestrial form of television. When was the last time you put on your television set and went on the what they call that thing, auto tuning, and tuned in stations on terrestrial television, and you say UHF Silverbed is on UHF 35.
No.
And when was the last time?
I don't remember.
So how do you get your, even that TV station, you can only get it through the digital format. So television, terrestrial television is dying. Is there a way
to save it?
There's no need to save it.
Why is that?
Because things have to yield. Something has to die for another to grow.
But other economies
I had to leave active broadcasting so that Quincy should emerge.
Absolutely.
So things. So it's the.
But other economies
way.
are finding a way to sustain these.
It's
things.
not. I don't think that there's universally television in its terrestrial form is dead. Is dead. The only thing that can thrive in if you call it television is the 24-hour cable news format. That is why the only television stations that are thriving in anywhere universally are the news stations. In Nigeria, you have your channels, Arise, TVC, Silverbed News 24. Those are the ones that, because people consume news 24/7, the stations themselves are 24-hour stations. So that's but you don't get them terrestrially. You get them through your digital box. It's either you get them through your DSTV decoder, or you get them through your your smart TV. Yeah. That's where they're transmitting from. They're not transmitting on those long transmitters that they put antenna. They're not.
Yeah.
So television is effectively dead. What we have now is a news. We have the cable. Call it, for one of better, we just call it cable news.
Isn't that sorry to interrupt her? Isn't that also affecting?
Entertainment?
Movies? Yes.
No, because the entertainment too has moved. Also, it is now Netflix. Consumed through a box.
Prime.
You need a digital box to get it. If you don't have a smart TV, you have a Fire Stick. And you must have your data. So it is digitally accessed. So and you have streaming. Now I don't have to wait for 1 week to watch a show. I don't need a schedule. There was a time it was a program manager. Yes. The program manager will now more or less now decide that, okay, this is on Mondays we'll watch this and that. This episode at prime time, this is what we're going to be showing. These are the shows we'll be showing every Monday between 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock and all of that. That's dead now because everything is streamed. And I can go back and watch something. I can fast forward. So television is effectively dead. It has now found expression in streaming.
Now,
that is why DSTV DSTV, your Africa Magic, your this thing, they're dying. And that's why DSTV now started with their Showmax streaming platform. So you consume your entertainment via streaming. You consume your news via streaming too.
Now, with the streaming part of things, it's very recent, to be fair, but there was news in reference to Netflix leaving. There's been whispers about the possibility or alleged that Prime might be leaving, or they are not even here, or what have you. And this is also linked to alleged mismanagement of funds by certain producers or directors, movie directors and movie makers. What would you say to all of those?
Netflix isn't leaving. I watched
they
No, what you're
put
saying
out
is
a
that they are no
statement.
longer commissioning works from Nigerian producers. They're not leaving. They're here. I have Netflix. I still pay my subscription.
It's on the internet now. We can download it and we can
No, but
watch.
no, I still
But
pay
in
my...
reference to commissioning and also funding a lot of Nigerian movies.
It's a business decision that they took. If they sit down in their office and they decide that we have commissioned quite a number of movies in Nigeria, and they sit back and they look at the return on the investment and it's not impressive for them, then they can make a calculated decision and say, okay, we're no longer commissioning. But that's not saying that they're still acquiring. They started out by acquiring
Content.
Yes. And they're still acquiring. They came in and they put in their money into developing some scripts here, which they did for a while. And after a while, they reviewed, they won't go back, they made a review, they took a business decision and said, okay, we're no longer commissioning. I think we should be grateful for the time that they brought money into it. They've tried, they've upped the ante.
The moment that news was out there, people attributed it to the fact that there was gross mismanagement of funds amongst movie producers and filmmakers.
That's what
I'm asking what you
want me
what
to
you think
indict. You
about
want
that.
me to indict my colleagues.
Indict?
That's what you're saying, because you're saying that they said there was
No.
you said mismanagement.
Yes, that's what it was
So if
attributed
I endorse that, I'm indicting somebody.
How so?
That's
sir?
not that. Don't worry. I'm not afraid.
Sir, do
I'm not,
you
I'm
think?
not
I know that you are
afraid
not.
to
I know
indict.
that you are not.
So, but I'm just
do
saying
you
that
think that is happening?
I do not know so. I don't know so. I will not speak to what I do not know. First of all, nobody has admitted to me that this is my budget. Nobody has. So why are we speculating that we know what the budget is? We don't know, because they sign non-disclosure agreements. So why are we speculating about what we have no knowledge of? All we know is that Netflix is a business.
Yes.
They brought in money, and then after a while they say, we're no longer bringing in money for this purpose. It is a business decision that Netflix took. Why are we looking for a fall guy within the creative community? Why are we creating bad blood within the creative community? Say, you are the reason why Netflix is not. No, Netflix is not investing because it is a decision that they took on their own. And as I said, everybody that was commissioned by Netflix is sworn to an NDA. So no third party can honestly say he knows whether this person mismanaged it or misspent money. So let's just continue. And they have not stopped acquiring titles from Nigeria, and I have not missed a bit. I'm still watching quality programs. I've watched Seven Doors. I've watched. I'm watching wonderful stuff.
Shows.
Nigerian production still on Netflix. And when they came here and they put money here, they upped the game. Everybody's skill level, was elevated, and that skill remains here in Nigeria. The investment that they made in the people, in the technology, in the standards that they set, it remains with us. So let's just concentrate on exploiting that investment in quality and let us just, move on. And
Some would say that there's now a little bit of influx of more traditional driven content. So you are talking Seven Doors is it's a bit appealing to the ancient traditional times, essentially. The what I not Ayla, the other one. There are quite a number of them saying that we're now consistently making traditional
just call them
themed
traditional
movies.
epics.
Traditional epics.
And so it's good. It's a very good thing. It's we're telling our stories. None of those stories that we've been doing will ever win you an Oscar. What will win you an Oscar is
And the traditional epics.
the traditional epic, where the non-English, that's how, that they have the only category that we are ever likely to ever win is going to be in the non-English speaking movie genre for the Oscars. If you recall, it's a category, and that category cancels out people who do movies in English. So all your Nigerian movies in English.
But is that even right? If English is the official language of the country,
Oscars is an American award.
which English is their language?
So why would they come and give it to you? They've opened a window for you to excel. They say, speak your language, do a movie in your language, and we will honor you for it.
It's giving house N word, but okay.
It's not giving house and word. It's giving me an opportunity to tell my story in my language. Have you noticed that some actors find it difficult to act in English? Meanwhile, when they act in their native language, they are
excel.
wonderful actors.
Yes.
So if you want to get the best out of an African actor, let him act in his native language.
Now, but the others who cannot speak the native language,
they should go and learn. The same way they went to go and learn English.
Okay. Now, I want to move to another thing that has been quite consistent in recent times. You've been doing a lot of social commentary, right, to different trendy situations. And to be very honest, we, the younger generation, kind of love a lot of the views, right? And I think that I want to highlight quite a number of them. So I think one of the earliest, or rather, one of the ones that trended was you speaking about Davido's personality.
I've never spoken. I will never speak about his personality.
It says that he's the least arrogant amongst his peers.
Okay, yeah.
Essentially, yes.
Yes.
I wanted to just touch on that for a bit to say what drove that conclusion or that.
Because if you go by his pedigree, David O is a second or third generation rich kid, meaning
Old money?
very old money, ancient money for that matter. So if anybody has bragging rights about pedigree, it should be David O. But David O appears to be the one who is most attuned with the quote-unquote streets. You understand?
Yes.
So how do I say it? Let me use a Yoruba word. Kolakmonle is not kolakmon.
Pompous.
Kolakmon, pompous. You understand? So he's in that respect. I commend him in that respect. There are other traits of his that are not they are not as palatable to me. But in that respect, it does well.
Then there's a more recent one, which I had a very beautiful laugh, but at the same time, it was very, very knowledgeable. As when you spoke on Burna Boy and the Sophia situation in respect to people supporting prostitution, basically wanting to get a Lamborghini and all of that. While I think that maybe some people, the comment did not get to some quarters or certain quarters that I wish it would, I decided we should bring you back on this show to hear your real thought about the situation.
What's my thought about it? It was already expressed. The whole idea of people not having any shame anymore. Because how did this come out? There was some leaked conversation in which this individual spoke to the fact that she had a dalliance with this other singer in the hope that he would help offset the cost of a Lamborghini that she was hoping to acquire. It's fairly straightforward. That is not what people from good families admit to, aspire to, or do.
What's the problem? How would you, sir? You're more experienced, a lot older. Sorry.
It's not. This is today.
How
is not
did we get here?
Agbere did not start today. This generation is probably not the most
promiscuous.
They're not the most promiscuous. They're not. It's not a matter of today. But because it's not a matter of today, doesn't mean that we should stop pointing it out when we see it. I am 65 years old. The things that I ignored when in my 40s, I have no excuse to ignore them now. You understand what I'm saying? So I just feel it's my duty at this point in my life to see these things and point them out, because nobody can beat me.
Of course not.
So I'm just saying, but this is not. Let's put it this way: the Gen Z are not the most promiscuous and are not the worst generation. It's just that in this generation, in their time, the information travels far and wide. You get what I mean? In my days, to a large extent, when I was a young person, a lot of things the Gen Z were doing is like child's play to what me and my contemporaries were doing when I was in my very, very young age. You know, so that's why I don't consider them worse than my generation. It's just that this generation, you can't do anything to hide because it's
out there.
It's out there, but they're not bad like that.
Okay, so there was a time the "I'm a Chosen" was also still highlighting a lot of these. There was a time where "I'm a Chosen" phrase was rampant, and then it was quite funny as well.
And it's also bad English.
It's supposed to be "I'm chosen."
It's a bad English.
What is it supposed to be?
Okay, we know what "I am chosen" means. A group of people who belong to a particular sect. I don't want to who belong to a particular sect who have assumed the identity of their founder or the founder of that sect.
Yes.
And they go around thinking that there's something special about their sect. So hence, I am a chosen. In other words, they think they're exclusive. They belong to an exclusive club.
Yes.
And it just doesn't make sense, because really, if you can't even speak good English, which exclusive club do you belong to?
The chosen club. But okay. There was also something about what God cannot do does not exist. I think, I'm not certain, but something close to it's a silly slogan.
In the extreme. Silly in the extreme. In the extreme.
Why, sir?
Where is it coming from? Is there? I'm a Christian. I've been a Christian for nearly 40 years. A committed Christian for nearly 40 years. And in my knowledge of the Bible, there is no scripture, absolutely no scripture that you can bring out to support there is not
what God cannot do does not exist.
There's no script but I can find a scripture that can actually contradict. I can find several scriptures that contradict that notion. So I just challenge them. It's silly.
But I mean, it's still eventually heads to the exaltation of God.
Nothing is impossible with God. Fact.
Yeah, then what God cannot do does not exist.
No. It's in the negative. What cannot do does not. That's a double
negative, positive.
No.
It's the exaltation of God eventually.
It's not. It's not. Because clearly the Bible says that I cannot lie. God said, I cannot lie. Do lies exist?
Yes.
Okay, so are you saying that God lied when he said, I cannot lie, and lies exist? So let's. It's not even. It's a no-brainer. It's a silly slogan.
Okay. There was also Satan runs the entertainment industry.
Fact.
So how did you attain those conclusion?
Satan, from time, even in heaven, he ran the entertainment industry in heaven. Have you forgotten? Why is everybody?
He was a musician, or?
Thank you very much. So why is it? Why
According
does
to the
it?
Bible.
Excuse me. So if in heaven he ran the entertainment industry in heaven, why is it Why is it like a new? What I just said.
To banking, sir.
But he runs that too. Adam gave him that one when Adam gave him dominion of the world. So he got that too. But I'm just saying, so why is everybody thinking that I didn't bring a new truth? It's not some esoteric truth from somewhere. And do we not know that he runs? Where is the most promiscuity reported? In which industry? Not in banking, not in engineering, but in the entertainment industry, there's a lot of it. So who runs it?
Maybe because the entertainment industry is in the public eye. I've also been a banker, but I can tell you that there's a whole lot, sir.
Excuse me, please.
Sir, there's a whole lot, sir.
Name that banker that can rival PDD and what PDD is known to have been doing. Or R. Kelly. Name him. So please, let's not even go there. So excuse me, when it would be foolhardy for us to be. You said where is entertainment, and I told you, say the original entertainment industry, he ran it, and he's still running it. So let's.
Are we speaking sorry, sir. I get the promiscuity part, but are we speaking to certain success of certain people being associated with demonic roots, if possible? Saying, oh, if you're blown, because there's a conversation that says, look, once you get to a certain level of fame and success, you must be affiliated with some form of darkness.
That has always happened. Even in banking, they have cults. Everything has. Ultimately, you have to understand that the Bible calls Satan the prince of this world. He is a principality. He runs things. So in every industry, he runs things. The banking industry, there are bankers that belong to the New World Order. So in every aspect of human endeavor, Satan reserves an elite club from where he wants to run things, because he's the ruler of the darkness of this world. So why is it I don't know why everybody thinks that it's a
big deal.
It's not a big deal. That is his work.
How have you been able to? You said you've been a devoted Christian for 40 years. How have you been able to navigate these things? Because it's not. I don't see any this in the broadcast industry. It's still, which is a part of entertainment. There's still a lot of promiscuity and stuff going on there. How have you been able to navigate that? It's 40 years. That's a lot of time, sir.
That's very easy.
Sir?
Extremely easy.
Okay. How?
Yes,
sir.
It's not by power. It's not by might. It's by my spirit, says the Lord. See? So commit your ways unto the Lord, and he will guide your path. So it's not my...
We've not had the point of extreme temptation.
Even Jesus was extremely tempted. So, but I said, commit your ways unto the Lord, and he will take care of your business. I'm not the one who's resisting the devil that much. I don't. Who am I? I just have a superior ally on my side, and I every time it comes, I just say, Chairman, over to you. It's not me. What can I do of my own?
There are certain people who are visionaries, and I would want to think that, in short, I would say that you're one of them, being one of the, probably the first, or being one of the first independent filmmakers. One of the earliest business real estate show that you created, and quite a number of other things that you pioneered, and in both media and movies. What would you say would be the next phase, if at all, if you've thought about it? What would you say would be the next phase of entertainment? You've talked about radio.
For myself?
For yourself first, and then for the industry, especially with digitization.
You know, they describe people of my generation as digital migrants. We migrated. In fact, I've not even migrated properly. I don't think I've gotten my
I think you're doing a very good
my
job.
green card. I haven't gotten my visa. I don't have a permanent stay in the digital space, and I'm
No. I think
I'm working-
I think we can agree that you have a very
No.
you have a very strong
you know
stay.
you know when we will agree, when I have my own podcast with 10 million subscribers, then now that means that I am inside. So where
It's
because
possible.
you see, broadcasting, when I was doing my broadcasting, everybody in Lagos could not say they didn't know me, because the first late night talk show on Nigerian television, Friday Night Live, was presented by me. Friday Night Live. That was where people like Ali Baba cut their teeth. I brought him on television to be doing stand-up comedy on my show, Friday Night Live. That was the first entertainment talk show on Nigerian television. So I'm just saying, at that time, there was nobody in the whole of Nigeria that would say he didn't know. Anybody who had a television set knew me. Now, they don't know me. And why don't they know? And now I even have something of value to say. Do you understand what I'm saying? But I don't have the audience because I didn't migrate properly into the digital world. Do you understand what I'm saying? So what's next for me is the migration into the digital world to take a place there. It's not because I see that there's a vacuum, because there's a lot of people with very, very doubtful antecedents and ill motives have voices that have an audience. So what is wrong with a voice that has something of value to say? So I think that my next challenge is to break into that spot, to that space, and bring some sanity into that space.
And I think it will work.
We're working on it.
It will. I absolutely cannot wait for that. Sir, if you were to advise the current superstars, aspiring superstars, and also young filmmaker or young aspiring filmmaker and actor, producer, and what have you, if you were to advise them on how to get into the industry, how to navigate, and how to be someone in the industry, what would you say, sir?
There's no special advice for people in the same advice for people in the entertainment industry is what you will go for people in engineering or whatever. So generally for young people aspiring to be successful, before you're successful, first of all, do a personal audit of yourself, of your values. You do audit yourself and know where you stand in the value chain of life. Because why do you want to be successful if you will not be able to handle success? So work on yourself. When you're confident that this person that you now know is able to handle the affairs of life, then launch out without hesitation. But before you launch out, first of all, assess yourself properly, and wherever you are lacking, where you identify that you're lacking, reinforce yourself by investing in making yourself good
A lot
in
better.
that area, then when you're convinced, launch out.
Before we round things up, there's also the current conversation about the transactional gospel industry, right? Being in entertainment and being a Christian, I don't know if you'd like to speak on this. They're speaking to a certain people within the industry that get paid a whooping or certain types of exorbitant or huge amounts of money in it, to be the gospel singers and then the whatever they do for the churches, and it's becoming very transactional. I thought the gospel was supposed to be free, or if I'm not mistaken.
It's when listen. There's a transaction involved in a very fundamental way. It's a transaction, but that transaction is not between men and men. It's between men and God. If you confess with your mouth and believe in your heart that Jesus Christ is Lord, you will be saved. That is a transaction.
But they're adding dollars.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I said. I said there's a transaction involved. A fundamental transaction is involved. So in that sense, it's transactional. When you leave that and you begin to be paying yourselves money, or somebody inserts himself between you and the God who says, come, you know what I mean? Come as you are, confess Jesus Christ as Lord, and you will be saved. When somebody inserts himself inside that transaction, that is the criminality. That is where criminality has taken place. You understand? Because there is no other person that should be within that transaction that saves your life. So if you are stupid enough to allow someone insert himself between you and the ultimate deal maker, meaning God himself, because what God said, listen, I am giving you a deal that is too good to be true. And the deal is, you messed up. I want to forgive you, but I cannot forgive you if the demands of your mess up are not paid for. Your mess up has to be paid for. But you know what? You can't pay for it. You're not equipped to pay for it. So what I will do is that I will pay for it. And he paid for it by sending his son to die. And he says, all you need to do.
But we're still paying for gospel artists. And
That's precisely what I'm doing. You are paying for melody and harmony, and you are thinking that you are paying for something that God gives.
Because
listen, a gospel artist will give you melody and harmony. God will give you peace. No matter how sweet that song is, it will not give you peace. That's what you are buying. You are buying melody and harmony. You are buying feel good from pastors who will tell you to sow into my ministry and the gates of heaven will be open to you. You are dealing with a human being. And I'm just saying the original transaction does not have a third party involved.
So should it be free then?
The original, you didn't even hear me.
I heard you.
No. I was describing the original. The original transaction is more than free.
It's free with sacrifice.
No sacrifice. You do hear?
His son.
He said, you cannot pay. I will pay. I will give you my son. My son will give his life for you because you cannot pay. All you need to do, just accept that I have done it for you. That's more than free. You understand? So already it is a free, but there is a transaction involved. Yes, there's a transaction. Believe, and you will get it. That it doesn't involve. But if you are foolish enough to allow a third party, a human being, come and bamboozle you, and you fall for it, that's your problem. Because the person who called you to himself didn't make any such stipulation on you.
Okay. All right. This, how did you used to say it? This is where we get to. So, did you ever say where we get to draw the curtain on the show? Did you ever say that?
Of course, everybody has to. You have to have your way to say the day. I say, so, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the show at this time, and I'd like to say a very big thank you to our guest for finding time from his very busy schedule.
My pleasure. It's been my pleasure.
Okay, and we'll go to a show at the same time next week on this station. We'll be here with another very interesting personality. Until then, from the Echooroom, this is Quincy Jones wishing you all a very wonderful time.
And this is Patrick Doyle saying goodbye, guys. Nah, that was brilliant. Thank you so much, sir.
All right,
it's been my absolute pleasure having you on this seat. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
It's an honor. All right, guys. We are out, baby. Catch the next episode pretty soon.